The next topic we're going to look at is adjustment layers in Adobe Premiere Pro. So you know what adjustment layers do in Photoshop? It does the exact same thing in Premiere Pro. So it's a special kind of clip that you create natively inside Premiere Pro. You don't need to import it. You simply add this adjustment layer on a track above all the other tracks, and anything below it, they will render showing the result of this special effect. So we're going to create one and place it in our sequence. Let's go to our project panel. And in our project panel, kind of be aware of what folder you're in. I'm still in R3D. We're going to do File, New, excuse me, and then Adjustment Layer. And once it pops up, we're going to see that they default to our video so far. So the 1920 by 1080 at basically 24 frames per second. So we're good with that. We're just going to say OK. And now we see this adjustment layer show up in our project panel. And right now it's hanging out inside of the R3D file, which, you know, that's not really where it should live. It's kind of alone on its own. So I'm going to attempt to make this a bigger window. And I'm just going to move it out. Just twirl shut the sequences. I'm going to move this out all by itself. So I'm going to attempt to bring it down here. So we have audio, footage, graphics, sequence, and our adjustment layer. In our timeline, we're going to scrub the playhead to the beginning of the sequence, or press the home key or the backslash arrow and bring it all the way back. We want to have video track 5 available to us, so make sure that you have that. If not, you're going to add that track. We're going to drag this adjustment layer that we just created with no directions so far. We're going to drag it into the timeline so that its endpoint snaps to the playhead. So there it is. It's an adjustment layer. We want it to have the same duration as our sequence. However, it's only about 6 seconds long right now. So we're going to drag this out point, and we're going to drag it to the right so that it snaps to the out point of the last clip in our sequence, which is that confetti clip. I'm going to zoom out so we can see all of this. And that means we're going to drag this out point all the way over here. Oh boy, spinning beach ball. Oh, fun with home computers. I know you guys have this same fun too, so guess I'm just gonna let it play out. Okay, the spinning beach ball took too long. I had to pause. So we're gonna drag this out to the end of this clip, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit and make sure that it's accurate. La la la. Oh, for crying out loud. Alright, so we wanted it to end with sweeping confetti, which is this last clip, and it does now. So the adjustment layer goes the entire distance. We dragged it out that whole way. So if we, whoops, look at it where it's a little bit easier to see. Wow, those are some extremes. There we go. We have our adjustment layer out. It's invisible. There's nothing through it in it right now. So as we pull our playhead over this, nothing changes. If we apply one or more effects in the adjustment layer, however, we'll see them rendered on all visible layers in the tracks below it. So as of right now, we have this empty adjustment layer, nothing going on in it. And one thing that we might want to do is apply an effect that makes all of our footage except for the red footage look a little bit more desaturated so that that red or our 3D footage really pops. So we're going to come over to our effects panel over here in the project panel window, and you're going to see that we have presets, Lumetri, which is what we're going to work in, and then we've looked at some of these others already. So the Lumetri presets is what we want to look at. These are some of the preset already made color correcting. So there's cinematic, and they show you a preview of kind of how it will look here, so that's helpful. 2 strips in a space 100, whatever. There's film stocks. Again, they give you previews, monochrome, faded out a little bit, strong faded, whatever. And what we're basically going to do is we're just going to play around with these and kind of get an idea of what our options are. Technical, when we spin that open, we see some other options in here. And can you hear my dog crying to get in this room? I tell you, this is super fun. Work from home, they said. It'll be great. I'm going to take the monochromatic and I'm going to choose, I don't know, monochrome strong faded. And I'm going to take this option and I'm going to drag it on top of our adjustment layer and let go. And that's the effect that you get. Now, I'm not a huge fan, so I might try it again after I let my dog in the office. Say hello, Grace. You're on a recording now. All right, so maybe not a fan of that. I'm going to undo that, Command Z. What's this one like? Monochrome, normal contrast. Whoops, pull it down here onto the adjustment layer. Well, definitely took out a lot. Obviously, there's tweaking that we can do here. We see the Lumetri color has been applied up here in the Effect Control panel. There's some basic corrections that we can make, some creative options, curves. But let's just say that this was the effect we were going for. So by doing this, we have applied this to the entire movie because this goes the whole duration. So probably that's not what you were thinking. You're probably thinking of just having it apply in certain areas. So what we're going to do is just get this to apply over certain clips. All right, this is just such a night. All right, so what we're going to do is take our timeline playhead and we're going to go to 20602 and I'm going to zoom in. So this is presumably the first R3D or red file. And we're going to cut. Remember how we did that long ago? So we're going to press the C key to get the razor tool. And we're going to snap it to this endpoint right here where our timeline playhead is. And we're going to click once. Then we're going to move our playhead to the end of this file, to the end of the clip of the R3D, and we're going to make another clip there. Now our adjustment layer is applied. It's still applied to this right now, and it's applied to this chunk. We have 3 different chunks. We're going to grab our selection tool, and we're going to take this adjustment that's right over the R3D portion. I'll just back up here to show this. And we're just going to hit the delete key. And now that clip no longer has it over top of it. If you wanted to apply an adjustment layer to just one clip, and you obviously would just space it out to be the exact size from the in point of that clip to the out point, that's how long your adjustment layer would go. So you can do quite a variety of them. So hopefully that was pretty obvious. We would go ahead and do this with all of our red clips so that anytime there's an R3D showing, like this again, we would, whoops, we would snap to it, and then we would cut here, we would cut at the end and delete. I'm not going to go through all that, but that would be the obvious process of taking this adjustment out. The look that we were really going for is just to desaturate all of these interview documentary clips, not turn them black and white. So that's not quite what we were going for. What we got, this black and white, is not quite what I was going for. But I think you get the ideas of all the different effects that are in here, and you can play around with them. Film stock is going to give it a different look. So maybe we take in this little clip back here, let's back up to it. Let's just say that this adjustment layer, the Lumetri that we have applied, is this monochrome normal. Maybe we want to try this Fuji. And we're going to bring that in here. And we actually have them stacked. So the monochrome is on top, the Fuji is below it, and it's just like Photoshop where you're stacking layers. The stack order matters, so you can play around with that. So that is basically the end of the color correcting and some of the fun things that you can do with these Lumetri presets. So play around with them, add them to clips in your commercial, see if you can have some fun with that. Definitely think about color correcting though as far as white balance like we did earlier. But adding these adjustment layers above certain clips and giving some of them a black and white look could be really artistic and helpful with what you're trying to do. So have some fun with this. Nothing to prove from this chapter that you worked through this, but obviously color correcting is going to be required in your final project, and I would recommend you practice it in your commercial so that you can understand how it works and show that to me as well. All right, that's it for Chapter 8.